Joining me right now is Missouri Senator, member of the Senate Armed Forces Joint Economic Commerce Committees, Eric Schmitt. Senator, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. I mean, it's just extraordinary to me that every time we hear from John Kirby, he tries his best to change the conversation, blame it on Trump, and yet we still have no information whatsoever about 3 unidentified flying objects that were forced to be shot down in our airspace over the weekend.
Yeah, we need more transparency, that's for sure, Maria. It's good to see you again. But what they can't spin away from is what happened, with the Chinese spy balloon that traversed across the continental United States. It should have been shot down over the Aleutian Islands. There's just no question about it. No matter, even in our briefings as senators, we've asked questions about it. There's no good excuse for why this thing wasn't shot down over Alaska. It was allowed to traverse, again, over the lower 48 states, including missile silos in the Dakotas. And my home state of Missouri is the home of the B-2 stealth bomber at Whiteman Air Force Base. Also the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency near St. Louis. It went across all those targets. And as much as China wants to spin it as this was a weather balloon that's went adrift, I mean, that's nonsense. But the larger issue here, Maria, is we have a president that embarrassed the United States with that haphazard withdrawal from Afghanistan. Servicemen lost their lives. Tens of billions of dollars worth of equipment were left behind. We've got a president that doesn't honor the sovereignty of our own borders at the southern border, and now our airspace has been violated. The American people deserve answers, and we better turn our attention very quickly to the real serious threat we have across the Pacific, which is China.
I mean, it's unbelievable to me that no reporter is asking Biden why he canceled the China initiative. I mean, here we are in a situation where we watch this surveillance underway in front of our own eyes, and yet no one is questioning him about why he allowed the University of Pennsylvania to convince him to cancel the China initiative after Penn received $50 million from Communist China. As you were the Attorney General in Missouri, you were trying to hold this administration to account. What can you do to hold them to account and to ensure that the American people understand what's taking place right now? This is so dangerous.
It is. Well, look, he has nominees that are coming before these committees for confirmation. We need to hold their feet to the fire and block those nominees that don't take their job seriously. We've got a couple of those this week with the FCC and some other important posts. But I think the oversight function is really, really important. The House is, of course, asking a lot of important questions. We need to do that here in the Senate. We need to let the American people know that these issues are very important. They affect national security. These are not Republican versus Democrat issues. The idea that we have a Chinese spy balloon that was allowed to gain critical intelligence over the United States of America ought to concern everybody. And this administration doesn't seem to take it that seriously. They don't seem to recognize that China is our chief adversary and that we're a very important high-stakes competition with them. And so we need to do everything we can to make sure we're ready for that, and that is our laser-like focus.
Yeah, and you mentioned having input in terms of this president's nominees. Biden's Federal Communication Commission nominee, Gigi Sohn, is going to be appearing before the Senate Commerce Committee for her confirmation hearing. What are your thoughts here? The Wall Street Journal's editorial board writes an op-ed called "Watch Out, Gigi Sohn is Back." They call her a left-wing activist who would turn the FCC into a political bludgeon. Senator, what are you planning on asking her? And do you think that we are going to see, once again, another agency go woke and go, against the American people with her plans?
No question about it. I mean, this is, unfortunately, by the Biden administration, another example of a historically very important position with the FCC turning over to some, an ideologue, a woke ideologue that has that kind of leftist agenda. And here's what we know about her so far, and I look forward to asking her a bunch of questions today. She's tied at the hip with big tech. And this is the same administration that had a Ministry of Truth, an Orwellian Ministry of Truth. And as AG, as you know, Maria, we filed that lawsuit that uncovered this connection between big tech and big government to censor folks. Those, revelations continue through the Twitter files and other investigations. But this is a nominee that would literally be in charge of that kind of relationship between communications, big tech, and the American people, and has shown a complete disregard for people's First Amendment rights to express themselves and protected under the First Amendment. So this is an important nominee. She unfortunately is out of touch, and we'll look forward to asking her a bunch of questions today.
All right, Senator, we'll be watching that. Thanks very much for being here this morning, Senator Eric Schmitt. Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
All
Maria.
right, quick break, and then still.